All right, guys, jump in.
Morning, Mike.
Morning. We're streaming live on YouTube. The stream is loading up. Guys can talk if you want. Morning, everyone. Get in.
Morning.
Yeah. Morning. We're live on YouTube. Just get ourselves up. All right. All right. Get yourselves ready. I'm coming. All right. Let's start in 1 minute. Give everybody a chance to get in. All right. Get yourselves on. All right. All right. I'll start in 1 more minute. Just give everybody a chance to get in. Welcome, everyone. Yeah. Got the guys on. Welcome. All right. All right. Let's go. I'm going to hit record. Okay, guys. So, welcome to the live analysis session. We're cracking on with our Friday analysis. Now, Friday analysis running in the morning. It's better to do it in the morning than in the afternoon because Friday on the FX market, by the time we get to the afternoon, unless there's NFPs or something, nothing's really going on. So let's have a look at the market and see where we were. So yesterday we had Euro USD. Now the price gave us a long. If I look at what we have right here, we have a long back to the optimal trade entry area. The price pushed short and entered into this area. Now the price is holding in this demand zone here and it hasn't broke past and the price is returning. So I'm intrigued to see what the price will do. From the M30 standpoint, the price has returned to significant area of supply for us to get a short, but on the M15 it hasn't. So there is a chance the price might push higher. So if you're in this, you should have your stop losses to break even as I instructed yesterday night. And we're just going to continue holding to see what's happening. Now, there isn't any major news to really push the price to any significant areas. We had the only significant US news was the bank stress test, but nothing really happened with that. We'll have a look and see if there's any news, just always as a good recap. Now, pound USD, I gave the shout for the short. We had the H full stop on market structure break and we had an RTM instead of an RTO. So the price fell perfectly into this order block. We had one more return here and then we had the UK news yesterday, the ring of fire, as I call it. And we've had about 90 pips. Now the price, I gave you guys a shout for the M15 area. The price broke up slightly above it, but still is within the H1 area. If I use the H1 here, we're still within this H1 demand area. Now, because this candle is very tiny, the liquidity is basically zero. You can use these two candles together as one to represent demand in this case. And we've had a short going on. The price is still holding here. The grand scheme of things, the H1 area is still holding the price for demand, similar to Euro USD. I do expect a short because the real trade we want is the long. The price we want is to pull back down to around about here. And then we should see our very strong long. For now, I think because the market is not, there isn't as much liquidity in the market as we would like. We haven't got what we would, what we would want concerning the price there. So we'll be waiting to see what the price does moving forward. I'm expecting to see some price action uh, that will present itself later on. But for now, we're not in that stage now. So pound CHF, I gave you guys a shout for it. So for those of you who've been following me, you should see now that the price is returning, come for this liquidity pool here. Now, it doesn't mean, Now, yesterday I was going to let everybody put a pending order, but that's not the wisest thing to do because the price could still reach for lower areas of demand or for stop losses further down. But at least, as you can see, guys, I gave you guys a shout whilst the price was still bullish, that this price action here, this trend line here, is a special type of trend line. And this special type of trend line lets you know when the price is going to reverse. This price action from this range here. But this isn't a teaching lesson, so we won't go through that right now. But looking at the price running this low, we had an attempt in the night time when the spread increased at 10 o'clock and we were in the Asian session. But because we're in the Asian session, I wasn't expecting there to be, any sort of great reaction because you can see the price was in a range here because the liquidity will be low. But as soon as we get to 7 here, the UK session opens up. We get a nice stop hunt here. Now, I want to see how the price holds off, if it's going to continue in this bearish pattern or we're going to be able to handle the price pushing long. If it does, then we can give a shout for today, and I'll be looking for a long continuation on the way up. Now, I like this trade a lot. From the D1, we are in a demand zone, intermediate demand zone. We have a D1 validation point here, and this is what I'm really eyeing up. I believe that pound CHF is a really great trade. We're looking at pound USD for a long, but pound Japanese yen was another option, but that already took off too quickly. But if I go from where we had a D1 stop on here onto a D1 validation point, and we have a return to demand here, but it depends on what the price wants to do. I'm hoping that the price will give us a better, well, it will give us clearer direction as to what it wants to do. But my next targets for the price action is here, and then here we should be going for above the highs. I do still think the pound is very strongly bullish fundamentally for so many different reasons, especially to do with COVID vaccination and recovery. So I would like to see that movement moving forward. Okay. Now from the H4 now, if I took away this H1 supply zone for just a moment, from the H4, we're literally in H4 demand right now. If you look at it from the H4 perspective, then it makes more sense why this double bottom was formed. So we had a reversal from this double bottom. Many traders took the long. And if you took the long, it's not bad because you'd have made 100 pips if you closed at the right time. But this specific trend line is an algorithmic trend line, which I know the price is going to reverse and come back beneath the low. Okay, and take stop losses. So we've had a return back into the H4 demand zone here. So the price has every right to continue going long. We've had good re-optimization of supply as well. If I go across to the left, you could either use this supply zone here, which is okay to use, or you could use ones underneath. But even if we just took a look at this supply zone or the one underneath here, you can see that we had an effect of price capping here with this supply zone. And then once we had the break and return, if you notice, the market never does anything by accident because there's a movement of money. It's not patterns. The patterns are just secondary, but really is about how money is moving in the market. And after the price was able to, or after the market decided that they're ready to take the price higher than this range, we had a break and a return to fulfill the orders within this order block. And this is where we had this strong long. So now the price has returned here. I'm really poised for a long. I'm really looking for this bullish run. It's just because it's a Friday. This is my only reservation. On Friday, I'm not expecting much. The Forex market is going to end anyway. The trading Forex market, the actual 24/7 Forex market never ends. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to go on holiday on Saturday and exchange dollars for pounds and etc. But even then, I'm looking at the price action here. We have a really good opportunity. It's just I want to see how the price is going to play this one out. I'm hoping that we'll get a wick close for the day. And in fact, if the price stays in a range for today, then it's okay. Or if the body of the candle closes beneath this H1 area, then we can just look for lower areas of entry. This is why I didn't give a pending order, because it was not a bit, it was a risk. You should never preemptively try to put a pending order for a reversal in a situation like this when there's a liquidity pool. In other times you can do, but again, this is not for teaching on the live session. We just want to go straight forward where we are. All right, so keep your eyes, students, everybody, keep your eyes on pound CHF. Pound USD, of course, we want a long on that too, but we expect the price to go lower. However, pound USD, because of the US dollar effects and everything that's going on with the tapering and inflation and different things like that, pound USD could do a short of about 100 pips, and pound CHF may do a short of just about 50 pips if it was to go short, for example. Or pound CHF might actually start going long and pound USD could go short because they have different dynamics there, especially right now as to where we are. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this up here. Let's have a look. So NZD/USD now has closed above the D1 area, so we are free to go for a long and start capturing some of these returns. And so I'm expecting AUD/USD to look the same. Let's look at AUD/USD. Now there was a brilliant analysis from one of the students. Um, yeah, Abdul Sharif gave a very good analysis. So if you're listening, bro, well done. That was a really good analysis. Now the body of the candle hasn't, to me, it's so difficult here. The body of the candles close at the line, so the close of this day is exactly equal with the edge of this order block. So even though the price looks like it's bullish and it wants to continue going long, which is what we're waiting for if it does go long, or the short, we still can't go long right now. And on the Fridays, I wouldn't advise to do so. If you look at the price action anyway, since the price has been going bullish after this initial movements here, if you notice, the liquidity has become lower, the candles are a lot smaller. We had a bit of action here around about 3 o'clock and another one at 7 o'clock here. And I guess it's just because of the close of Asia and just the US session effect. But you can see that the candles are quite small and they haven't really, picked up at all. But we want to see if today we have a D1 close, then we can start to look for things next week. But I wouldn't advise anyone to go and jump straight into the market and start hammering at it today, unless there's a very good opportunity. And I wish there was some sort of fundamental news that could probably give the US dollar or some pair, a little bit of a boost, but we don't have that. All right. But we just can look at this from a forward thinking for next week to see what we're going to have, moving forward. All right. Now, UK 100, we're still watching it. Now, we have a very interesting piece of price action here. I have an algorithmic spike of the stop losses from the previous day of all the bulls. Now, if I go to the H1 here, or the M30, which is the zone we had marked out, the price is not really respecting this supply zone as we would have liked. It's still hanging on the D1 validation point here at 7123, but we don't have any, we don't have much going on in terms of the price action here. So this supply zone, we're going to have to remove it and look at different aspects of what the price is trying to do now. So I'll say UK 100 to stay out of it for now. As you know, guys, UK 100 and pound USD have an inverse relationship at times, and sometimes they go the same direction. It depends on the dynamics going on and other factors. But we've had this price action here that is making me weary of the price going long right now. So I'd prefer not to stay to watch it, even though we've had a break and a return. As I said, it's not the correct type of break and return, so no touching that for now. All right, let's have a look at USD CHF as well. All right, so USD CHF, we're expecting the price to go long. I'm not happy with this price action here between these two candles. I would like to see a bit more with the price, but we didn't get that. So I'm watching the price from this H1 perspective. I know we have a liquidity gap, and we have another one of these liquidity pools back down here. So exactly 190 pips is the trade that we're looking for. But to take this trade, we need a very strong body close and a return, and then we can go for a short. And I'm expecting the price to get right here. This will be our target. Usually I give a T1 and a T2, but there's no T1 and T2. This is directly a take profit. I'm very, very confident about this trade. Once we get to this area, we'll be back into daily liquidity or D1 demand zone areas, and then the price should be pushing long again. Now, I'm hoping that the price if the price decides to just gently push down, we do have these lower low structure, but I'm not going to be convinced by the price here. This is the real crucial pivotal point. So keep this noted down if you're watching the price action to see what we have here. Whatever happens from this area, then we'll react from that. But if for now, we can't really do anything with it, sadly. So let me pull up some more charts. Let's have a look and see if there's any opportunities. Now, just because Friday can be a bit dry, doesn't mean that there isn't anything going on. So let me open up a pound USD. I'm just going to scan through and see what we have going on. Okay. So it looks like USD JPY's stop hunt worked out quite well. Price is going short, but for me, it's just not the trade right now to look at. It's just not the trade. I prefer to leave it alone. USD CAD I'm more interested in because we have this area here on the H4 that we marked out. This is a very important demand zone. If the price, as I said, if the price did close beneath this, then we'll be looking for a very strong short all the way back down to where the gap is formed here. But for now, we haven't had that. If the price wants to go short, I do believe that the Canadian dollar is strongly bullish. Yeah. So let me put this supply zone here. So from this supply zone right here, if we looked at the market structure, now I usually don't mark out A, B, C's, and D's, but excuse me, let's do so. So here is A, and down here we have B. So from the market structure, let me change this to B for you guys. So we have an A, we have a B, and we have a C moving forward. So for me, guys, after we had this price action here from the news that came out from the the last Bank of Canada or Bank of Canada rate decision in April, if we just have a look at here, I'm going to put the Fibonacci on for a moment. The price has just missed the optimal trade entry, but right now the levels are not so as important as the supply and demand. The crux of supply, which is what caused the price to go short from April into May and even into the early parts of June, is from this supply zone right here. So in order for the price to really give us a real short, then we're going to need to recoup or get back into this area where the liquidity started from. Okay, so we're going to retrace or go back to our origin. So even though we have levels here that are been, above discount, which is great, or above the premium pricing areas, it doesn't really matter at the moment. I do think the price will get to 86, and it's possible it can even go slightly higher. But we need to use this area of liquidity. This is where the orders are going to be. This is where the bearish pressure is going to be, the supply pressure to take the price short. So I'm happy to see the price kind of hanging around here. Now, the candlesticks are not the best, but it does look like this supply zone right here, the price is using it as a flip zone to continue going long. We're right exactly at equilibrium at the moment. And I'm looking at this D1 validation point to be the launching pad. So I'm going to change the color here so that we have the marking system properly. I'll turn this to blue. All right. So above this area right here is where once the price gets above here, then we should be looking long. Now there should be a 15-minute or 5-minute order block, and I'll post this to the students later. For now, that's not really important. But I'm watching the price here, and I do believe that we are supposed to get along. Even though we have a gap here, which should be filled, I believe the price will fill it on the way down, and we can continue in this bearish structure. Now, this structure is very obviously bearish. It's been bearish for a very long time. Okay, we've just had the continuation of the bearish movement. Now, this trend is a healthy one. I don't see any algorithmic manipulation here. This is a good, healthy trend. I think the trend has started to go into a heavier phase of shorting recently with, increased strength of the Canadian dollar. But, because of the US dollar tapering, we've seen this reaction. So I'm expecting one big, large move again, same way that I'm expecting a large move on the other US pairs for another re-entry before we continue in the direction we're trying to go into, which is, well, it depends on what pair you're looking at, to be fair. But I'm expecting the price to at least get to this area. So 1.25, let's just call it 1.25650. Okay, between that range. Once the price gets here, then we should be looking for a short. Now we're going to look for specific things when we get there, but nonetheless, I'm really expecting the price to give us this structure here. I don't think the price is done. Now, Fibonacci levels will never ever have no bearing on anything or have no meaning without supply and demand. So even though we have come to significant areas, I mean, for retail traders, 61.8 or 62, areas here, 70, things that, we would use as traders. It has no bearing on the price from this market structure because we're not in supply at all. We're not in any significant area of supply. We have had a reversal right here and the price has gone short, but you can see it stopped at the last area of reoptimization of supply. So I'm expecting a long from here, really. And we have had a D1 stop on right here. It doesn't look like one, but this whole price action here is a D1 stop on right now. So for me, into next week, I'm expecting USD CAD to give us a pullback on the H1 around about here. All right. Something along the lines of this. and then we can go for a long. And this would be a fantastic trade on the upside, I would say. Very, very good trade to take. And we can set our targets. So our targets for the short, or our targets for the long, would be the entry for the short, which is one of my favorite ways to trade. Take the trade up and down. So I'm keeping my eyes on that. Let's move a bit quicker, see what's going on here, see what we can capture. Now, in reality, if you want to make any real dough on Friday from Forex, if you want to have money from it, if there's no NFP news, then really you want to be in the markets, especially for us UK traders at GMT time. You want to be around the market at 7, because when the liquidity pours in, sometimes the entries for certain trades or some scalps happen at around about 7:30, things like that. Now, if there is news to support you, then that might be helpful as well. But sometimes we see that the price doesn't always do things that we do. But then there's other times where you can wake up on Friday and the market has just lost its mind in a good way. Okay. So I'm watching to see what we have here. If Euro GBP gives a good signature, I'll send this out to the students. It looks like we have something here. Now, Euro GBP has been an interesting one. I'm still reluctant with selling it, even though I know the price is in a very strong phase of bearish price action. And just to recap over this, why we are, if I use the D1 to explain this the best, let's put this here. We have a very interesting piece of price structure, which is it is convergent, or it is converging with how pound USD should be going and the pound in general should be going. We should be having a very strong pound. And if we look at this D1 order block here, when we had the coronavirus period here, the pound became very weak and the euro had a very strong strengthening. This is the time where they were doing the stimulus stuff. We had an accumulation here, then we had the second long. Now you can see that the first long here, the length of the first long is not as long as the second long, and it took a lot longer to get there. This first long took place in in just about a few days, roughly around about 8 to 9 days. But then this second long, which is not as high as the first, took several months. Okay. So when this second return happened, as soon as we saw this, then there was a very clear sign that this D1 demand zone will become a flip zone and it will become a very strong area of supply instead of demand. Now, when I look at the D1 structure of the price here, we have a break beneath this area, and then we have a return here, and we see that the price has been shortened. The price has been quite rangy. That's the best way I can describe it, on its way down. When I look at the price structure as well, there is a gap on Euro GBP that has not been filled. I still believe Euro GBP is going to go short, and in this month of April, we're really trying to capture it. The price is really playing hard to get. All right. I'm just watching this supply zone right here. The price came to it. Now, you won't be able to see it from here, but I'm going to zoom in anyway. Let me use the D1 to explain this a bit better. So if I go to the D1 here, if you notice this candle, we have the price at the edge of it, but we have no return into supply. So the resulting price action, this is why we're seeing ranging kind of strange, kind of like USD JPY kind of price action, because the price hasn't returned into the supply zone. It came to the edge of it, but we don't have the price entering into there and using the liquidity for supply. And if this supply zone is a very strong one and a very significant one, because at this supply zone we had the very strong drop, and for Euro GBP, excuse me, to do 100 pips in that kind of speed with that kind of strength, then you know that this supply zone is the key area that we should be looking at. So I believe that even though we should be getting a short, I do believe Euro GBP is going to pull back one more time. On top of that, just breaking this down a bit further, if I use the H4 or even the H1 between this price point here, right at the edge of the supply zone, we have a liquidity gap. When the market did this strong short, literally interestingly during the nighttime, or not during the nighttime, but during the starting from Asia into the UK session, I'm using the H4, so every 4 hours. But starting here from the Asian session into the morning, by the time we got to the UK session, we had a very strong short of had happened, and a little bit more into the US session, but not too much, or into the next day, sorry. So this gap right here has not been filled, and I expect the price to fill it. Now, pound Japanese yen, pound USD, they filled their gaps. If I go to pound USD here, just to show you the comparison, pound USD had a very strong gap here, and it was left for a very long time. But in the US dollar tapering, we've had the gap being filled, but Euro GBP hasn't filled this gap. So even though I'm looking for shorts, I'm looking more for where the price might give us a nice bottom for us to go for one more long. And our target will be very simple. If I put this right here, if we just went for a long, let's say from here, I expect the price to give us a long to fill the gap, and then that will be the entry for the short. And also a fulfillment of efficiency of this order block, because the prices got to it but didn't re-enter. All right, and this is why you see the resulting price action the way it is. So I'm watching Euro GBP. We're gonna have a look and see what's going on. All right, I'm gonna continue on to see what else we have moving forward. See what the markets are saying. All right, so let's put this here. Now I'm looking through to see what we have going on. AUD CAD. Now I haven't been really paying attention to Australian dollar pairs. We saw this gap up on all of them. I'm not really trading them at the moment. We have quite thin price action on the Australian dollar at the moment, so I'm trying to stay away from it. When the liquidity picks up, we do have some good trades at hand that could happen, but at the moment it is moving a bit slow. All right, I want to keep it to more UK pairs. Let's look at what's going on with the UK 100. Well, we looked at that US 30. See what's going on here. With indices, they move quite similar. So we see price action movement very similar across all the boards. They have the same shape. Probably the ranges might be different. Some might have a wider movement for the day than others, but they roughly have the same shape. Okay. All right. So let's have a look at the rest. Now, pound CHF looks like it's lining up. Now, for those of you on YouTube, I hope you guys enjoyed this. All right. It will be the end of the live. All right. And I'll catch you guys later. I'm going to continue with my students now. I hope you guys enjoyed that.